Yeah, that was the
Okay, it's 4:30 p.m. on November 6th, 2017. Call this meeting to order. It's an appeal hearing for the pool lighting bid. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Kurt?
Here.
Jeff?
Here.
Nancy?
Yes.
Eric?
Here.
Mark?
Here.
Brandy? Here. Jay?
Excused. Okay, the hearing will start. It's an appeal of intent to award the pool lighting bid documentation. And the order we're going to go in is, I believe, Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, but the borough representatives will describe the RFP and events leading up to the notice of intent to award.
Correct.
And then after that, Appellant Puffin Electric, LLC, will present grounds for the appeal and offer argument in support of their appeal. Borough representatives may offer argument in support of the intent to award and denial of the appeal. Appellant Puffin Electric, LLC, may give final responsive argument. And Assembly will close presentation of testimony and argument. And at this time, the clerk would like to, anybody in the audience here in the building to stand up if you're going to testify, and anybody on their phone, please identify yourself, and Debbie will administer the oath to all at the same time.
So those on the phone, is there anyone on the phone that will be testifying for Puffin?
Yes, Lane Chesley.
Thank you, Lane. Anybody else?
Ma'am, my name is Dave Freeman. I'm Puffin's attorney with Little of Arcot.
Great, thank you. My attorney did let me know that you would be probably speaking under the responsive argument, but I didn't need to swear you in because you're not, I can't remember the words, but anyway, you're not a material witness. Okay, so...
I may or may not make a presentation in that level.
Okay, sounds good.
Can I get one thing? Can you turn the speaker up a little bit, please?
You bet.
Debbie,
You know what I was
I'm hard of hearing, even if I'm hearing anything else.
This is Jay's not here. To over here. Maybe this will help.
Oh, I see.
Okay, I'm going to turn the volume up a little here, up as high as it can go. Okay.
And ma'am, I believe that Bruce Hess of Puffin is also on the phone. That is correct. I'm here.
And will you be supplying any testimony, Mr. Hess?
Not that I'm aware of. I guess it's a possibility, so maybe I'll be available to be sworn in.
Okay. So, David, Bruce, Lane, Carl, and Chandra, if you'll all please stand and raise your right hand.
Debbie, this is Sarah Heidemann. I'm also participating by phone, but I don't think you need to swear in Dave.
Thank you. Okay, everyone else other than Dave, please raise your right hand and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes?
I do.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. So, testifying for the borough representative will that be Chandra. Will you please step to the podium, please? And I guess for the record, state your name and who you represent.
I'm Chandra Thornburg, Petersburg Parks and Recreation, Petersburg Borough. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here this evening. A little bit about background on this. The pool was built in 2005. The construction began in 2005. The lighting system was installed and signed off by Haight Associates, the same company that Puffin is now using to verify their documentation. At that time, they stated that the lights would meet the lighting levels with the color of the ceiling being eggnog. Over the time, the lights were not strong enough to produce those levels needed, and the light was lost in the lighting fixtures and the ceiling, and didn't meet what they were supposed to be meeting. In 2012, the pool covers were installed on the eastern wall, which further made it difficult for the maintenance people to replace the lights. So those lights have been challenging to get to. In order to get to them, we would have to remove the diving board as well as rent a lift from Tyler Rental to come on in and kind of arch over the top of the pool covers. So that's a little bit of background. Through this process, as I was brought on, it was identified already that the lights were an issue and they needed to be replaced. After months of discussions with Steve and Ira, my maintenance person, and calling a couple of downtown, south businesses to try and figure out how much lighting would really cost. And acknowledging that we are not professional electricians, we decided that we would open up this proposal process as a proposal, as an RFP, instead of a bidding process. We specifically did not choose the bidding process because we did not have a specific chosen fixture or system in mind outside of the criteria that we listed in the RFP. So the RFP was written and reviewed on September 8th. I used a stock RFP that we've been using for the borough already and replaced sections specific to this project. I compiled the following criteria within the RFP based on the following information from the months of conversations with Ira, Steve, and I. The E-shape pattern was discussed and finalized because of the maintenance issues on the replacement. I called Tyler Rental today, and to get a boom lift out there, it'll cost us approximately $420 per day. So it's just extra if we were to replace our own lights. What we identified within the RFP was that we would like a newer LED technology to increase energy efficiency and decrease cost, specifically proven technology for humid pool environments. The second piece was to increase the illumination levels within the netatorium to meet Alaska Admin Code 18 AAC 330.530. Stating that lighting fixtures must illuminate all parts of the pool enclosure and the water in the pool. The lighting intensity measured at a point of 30 inches above the pool deck must be at least 50-foot candles. Color spectrum shall be at least 4100K or greater. Downward or outward facing fixtures that increase luminosity yet minimize glare on the pool surface to meet Alaska Admin Code 18 AAC 30.530. Arrangement and design of the lighting fixtures must permit lifeguards to clearly see all pool waters, walkways, springboards, and other fixtures. Ease of the future maintenance replacements in accordance with the Alaska Admin Code. Natatorium lighting must be designed to permit the replacement of the light bulbs or the tubes. So, in consideration of this code, instead of a square-shaped pattern, we are suggesting an E-shaped pattern, changing the existing square-shaped lighting layout to an E-shape over the northwest and south walls and the bulkhead area, with no lighting fixtures above the pool covers on the east wall. Decrease the height of the fixtures on the north and south sides and face inward towards the pool, and then install longer-lasting energy-efficient lights that eliminate the need to replace on a semi-annual basis. On September 11th, the RFP was posted online. On September 18th, addendum number 1 was posted online with the sample contract attached. On September 21st, we had the pre-proposal conference. Lane Chesley and I, Mr. Chesley, who wrote the proposal for Puffin, and I had a conversation about the difference between a retrofit and a new system prior to the pre-proposal conference. Lane asserted that a retrofit would be cheaper and would be the better option, at which point I did say that he is welcome to submit a second proposal in the form of a retrofit. However, I was interested in a new system. I asked if he would be interested in submitting 2 proposals. He said that submitting 2 would be time-consuming. I stated that I understood his point of view and requested a new system. He then went on to speak with Ira about specifics of the building. On the day of the conference, in attendance was Stephen Giesbrecht, Julie Anderson, Ira Morgan, myself, Lane Chesley from Puffin, TJ Daw from Nordic, and Serena Newman from Bear Electric. During the meeting conversation, we went over the agenda, which you guys can find on page 57 or 59 in the PDF. Under Section 3B4 in the agenda, it clearly states the E pattern with no square shape. I brought up the question of the retrofit because Mr. Chesley had asked from the night before. We discussed reasons why we wanted to stay with the E-shaped pattern and stated that a retrofit proposal may be considered, but as an alternate proposal, so that the committee can compare the new system cost to the retrofitted system cost. However, the priority is to replace the old system with a new system, demolishing all of the old main lighting fixtures. As a side point, Nordic asked if the emergency lights can be retrofitted, and the answer was yes. Yes. I asked the companies to include the option in their pricing list, and I issued addendum number 2 to address this and other questions asked by the potential proposers. On September 27th, addendum 2 was posted. On 10/4, addendum number 3 was posted, stating the proposers may submit through email. I submitted this addendum because Mr. Chesley had asked for an extension, and Premier and Sitka Electric requested to submit through email to meet the deadline. On 10/6, Carl, Jamie, and I met to divvy out the proposals, discuss the process, review the RFPs, and then we each went our separate ways to complete the scoring sheets individually. On 10/9, Carl, Jamie, and I met to discuss our scoring criteria. During the discussion, phone interviews for both Sitka Electric and Puffin were made to ask further questions about their proposals. The scoring criteria compared can be found on pages 122 to 145 in your packets. From this meeting, we decided on Sitka Electric to be sent for an intent to award. The notice of intent to award was sent out on 10/9 through 2 separate emails. One to Sitka with the intent to award, and one letter was sent out to Puffin, Nordic, and Premier through an email. On 10/10, both Puffin and Nordic Electric requested copies of the RFPs. Puffin also requested copies of the evaluations. They were sent to them via email as well. 10/13, Puffin's protest was sent to Steve. 10/23, Jody's response to Puffin's protest, which is in your copies. And then on 10/30, Puffin appeal to the Assembly was submitted. That's all I have to say about the events leading up to the protest.
Okay. Let me look through this. I believe, if I read this right, if there's any questions from the Assembly of Chandra, now's the time to ask. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next. Thank you, Chandra. We'll move on to the next part of the appeal process, and that is the appellant, Puffin Electric, LLC, will present grounds for the appeal and offer argument in support of their appeal. So is that...
This is Bruce with Puffin Electric. Just for clarification, it's not Puffin Electric, LLC, it's Puffin Electric Incorporated.
Oh, okay. We will change that. Okay, are you going to be doing the testimony, Bruce? Who's going to be doing the testimony for Puffin?
Oh, that'll be Lane. He's on the line there.
Okay.
Turn it over to him.
Lane, if you're ready, you may proceed, please.
Thank you, Mayor Jensen. And Assembly members, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about the appeal of our denied protest on the swimming pool lighting upgrade project. We are aware of the fact that a special meeting takes time away from your private life and adds extra costs to the borough. As a result, I have written my remarks and will read them to keep the meeting as short as possible. As part of my introductory remarks, I'd like to briefly tell you about our company. Puffin Electric has been in operation for about 35 years and is owned by Bruce and Polly Hess. The company is a statewide general and electrical contractor with a focus on working in rural and remote Alaska communities. As part of our design-build business track, Puffin has acquired the knowledge and technology to become proficient in lighting design and particularly LED lighting upgrades. The Puffin Electric employees working on this project have served on our Homer Advisory Planning Commission, City Council, and Borough Assembly. In part, it is our public service experience that motivated us to bring this matter directly to your attention. We are here today to address two matters related to our protest of the intent to award. One, the waiver of minor irregularities in the apparent low bidder's proposal and determination that such a waiver is in the public interest. And two, determination that Puffin Electric's proposal was non-responsive since we did not allegedly propose a demolish and replacement of the lighting system with one in an E configuration. Petersburg Borough has issued a notice of intent to award the project to Sitka Electric. And just a side note, Sitka Electric is a very good company, and we don't have any, there's this should not have any our appeal has no reflection on the quality of the company of Sitka Electric. After receiving a copy of the notice, I contacted Chandra and requested a copy of the other proposals and staff evaluations. After we reviewed the materials submitted by Sitka Electric, it was clear that they did not follow the proposal submission requirements that were clearly specified in the RFP documents. In her evaluation, Chandra noted that a letter of transmittal signed by an officer of the firm with legal authority to bind the firm was not in Sitka Electric's proposal. This is the basis of our original protest filing. It is clear that this omission makes Sitka Electric's proposal non-responsive. The RFP called out this requirement in bold and underlined type, emphasizing the legal significance of this requirement. The Borough states that the omission of this legally binding document to be a minor irregularity and thus able to be waived under Borough Procurement Code. We claim that it is a material defect per the Borough's Procurement Code, Chapter 4, Section 4.04.070D and G, and I'll repeat that, 4.04.070D and G, and thus cannot be waived. Without a properly formatted and signed letter of transmittal, Sitka Electric is not required to provide a positive commitment to the services specified. If this document was not critical, the specific requirement would not have been referenced in the RFP in bold and underlined type. In the denial of our protest, the City and Borough claims that Puffin Electric's proposal is non-responsive because we did not propose a demolish and replacement of the existing lighting system in an E configuration. This statement is in direct contradiction to the evaluation of PEI to Puffin Electric's proposal. Our proposal was found to be responsive by the entire evaluation team and was scored highest of all the proposals submitted in all regards except for price. It was not rejected as being a retrofit. The fact is, Puffin Electric is proposing to demo all of the existing lighting system except for the support structure and to replace that old system with an entirely new lighting system. Take a look at the YouTube video we referenced in Puffin's appeal to see what we are planning to do relative to the new lighting system. Our planned demolition and replacement is completely within the parameters of the RFP, as is reflected by the evaluator's scoring. What was ignored in claiming Puffin Electric was non-responsive was the fact that Sitka Electric's proposal says essentially the same thing as Puffin's proposal regarding the work to be performed, i.e. Sitka Electric Company intends to demolish the existing 34 Type P fixtures and install 22 new LED fixtures. Sitka Electric intends on using the existing wiring circuiting where it is possible. Section 3, scope of work of the RFP, states that it is preferred to demolish and replace within E configuration. Preferred does not mean mandatory. The critical issue in the RFP, in which the Borough should be most concerned, is not the proposed layout, but whether or not the proposed solution will meet the requirements of 18 AAC 30.530. It was apparent after the pre-proposal meeting that the E configuration was proposed only to address a maintenance issue created by installation of the pool cover system on the east wall. This cover system prevents access to the existing lighting fixtures to perform bulb replacement. The pool staff does not want to relocate the pool cover system and thus determined that the lighting configuration be in an E configuration without consideration of whether or not this layout could meet the requirements of 18 AAC 3530. Puffin did not propose an E-configuration because the electrical engineer we teamed with in preparation of our proposal determined that such a configuration could not meet the requirements in 18 AAC 30.530. We are of the opinion that Sitka Electric's technical proposal does not demonstrate that it could meet the same requirements. Further, we proposed a perimeter configuration because discussion during the pre-solicitation meeting indicated that a man lift is available locally to conduct very infrequent maintenance of LED lights located above the existing pool cover system. The importance of meeting 18 AAC 3530 should not be understated. This is the safety issue in regard to the RFP. Please note that the RFP does not state a specified basis upon which a proposed lighting plan will be evaluated as to its assurance that it meets 18 AAC 3530. This is one of the problems that can come about when attempting to evaluate a technically oriented construction project without the assistance of a qualified consulting engineer. This is a critical omission because the RFP does not contain a method of measurement to determine if a completed installation is in compliance with 18 AAC 30.530. I offer the above comments about the lack of technical specifications not to take exception to the RFP, but to highlight that you do not have the criteria in place to properly evaluate the difference in price between proposals. In conclusion, waiving of the required signed letter of transmittal as a minor irregularity is not allowable under Borough Procurement Code because the omission is material, as it did not conform to the requirements of the RFP and thus was not able to be waived in this instance, and because it is inconsistent with the instructions that it be included by writing the relevant RFP instruction in bold and underlined type. Secondly, Puffin's proposal is in fact responsive because the RFP states that it is desired to demolish and replace in an E-configuration as stated in Section 3. Puffin's proposal will demolish all of the existing light fixtures and replace them with new energy-efficient light fixtures as described in the scope of work. Our preferred remedy is for you to fully agree with the merits of our protest and appeal and determine that Sitka Electric's proposal is non-responsive and award the project to the next responsive bidder, which is Puffin Electric. In this event, we will enter negotiations as outlined in Section 6. Alternately, a less preferred remedy is for you to partially agree with the merits of our protest and appeal and award us our bid preparation costs of $5,500 and refund of the $1,000 protest fee. A course of action such as this would allow you to cancel the RFP, consult with a qualified engineer to assist with issuing a revised RFP document, and put the project back out to bid. Further, I suggest you follow IRA's original advice and consider relocating the pool cover system to the west wall to restore maintenance access to the fixtures above the east pool deck. Mounting the pool cover system on the west wall does not interfere with maintaining the light fixtures on the west pool deck. Our on-site map of light level readings with a calibrated light meter documented that your lighting levels are grossly under the minimum safe levels required in 18 AAC 30.530. I suggest that you rent the lift that Chandra mentioned and replace the bulbs in the east wall fixtures to improve your efforts to comply with 18 AAC 30.530 and help make the pool facility as safe as possible for your community members. If you have any questions about Puffin's proposal, our protest, this appeal, or these remarks, I would be happy to take them now or after our closing statement. But in any case, I urge you to take some extra time to thoroughly review our written protest and our appeal, as well as our supporting attachments. I think if you do, that then you will be able to make an informed decision and grant our appeal.
Okay, thank you,
That's
Mr.
the end of my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Is there any questions of Mr. Hess by Assembly members?
Lane.
It's Mr. Chesley.
Mr. Chesley? Oh,
Yes.
is there any questions? There's no questions. Thank you, Mr. Chesley. Sorry about the mix-up
Thank you.
in the name. Okay. Borough representatives may offer argument in support of the intent to award and denial of the appeal. We have Mr. Hagerman, who is going to come to the podium.
Carl Hagerman, Public Works Director, and I'm representing the selection committee and Borough's position on the appeal as it was stated in writing. And I also have prepared comments that I will just read, and hopefully keep this short as possible. Basically, in refuting the appeal argument, Puffin Electric makes several claims, and I'll just go down those as they were presented in the appeal document. So the first claim is that Sitka Electric didn't issue a signed 2-page letter of transmittal and were thusly relieved of Section 3 in the RFP scope of work, meaning that they weren't bound to the scope of work presented in the RFP. The letter of transmittal requirement is for the proposer to state the firm's understanding of and commitment to the services to be performed and the names of authorized personnel within the firm. The committee would like to say that claim is false. Sitka Electric's proposal contained the required substance of the letter of transmittal. It describes the services to be performed. It states Sitka Electric's commitment to provide a complete and functional lighting system with 3 to 4 personnel committed to installing the lighting in a safe and expeditious manner. As such, Petersburg Borough accepted that Sitka Electric fully committed to the work as described in Section 3 by the content of their proposal. The signature was affixed to the proposal, just in a different place, not in a letter of transmittal, signifying authorization and intent to bind their firm to the proposal as presented in accordance with RFP Section 4.3. Sitka Electric proposal met the borough specifications of a new system that was in the RFP. That will meet the 18 AAC 30.530 regulation and be placed in an E-shaped pattern for ease of maintenance and reduction of long-term maintenance costs. Sitka Electric also provided the best price to accomplish the work. Any variance from the technical requirements of the letter of transmittal was deemed not material based on the content of Sitka Electric's proposal overall and was therefore waived as allowed in Municipal Code 4.04070, as waiving it is in the best interest of the borough. The required substance of the letter of transmittal was contained in Sitka Electric's proposal, and the proposal was signed. Puffin Electric has shown no proof or substance on how this action has disadvantaged Puffin Electric or provided advantage to Sitka Electric in this process, other than just to state that it has done so. The second claim that Puffin Electric makes is an assertion that Puffin is responsive to the RFP. We again believe that this is false. Puffin did not provide what was requested insofar as a proposal for the specific lighting system. The RFP called for removal and disposal of the existing lighting system and installation of a new E-shaped configured lighting system. Puffin Electric's proposal was a retrofit of the existing square-shaped system. They claim that their plan was not understood and have provided a video as part of their appeal to show what they intended. The video was watched by the staff and is precisely what the evaluation committee envisioned from PEI, which is a direct retrofit of luminaire fixtures within pre-existing lighting frames, mounting systems, conduit, wiring, with the same square-shaped configuration as presently exists. Puffin Electric's proposal is the definition of a retrofit lighting system. Puffin Electric further acknowledged that it was a retrofit in its proposal and its appeal to the borough manager. It is therefore non-responsive to the RFP specifications. Further points on that, Chandra earlier testified that during the pre-proposal meeting, the issue of retrofit came up, and she made it perfectly clear that a retrofit was not an acceptable proposal. It is also clearly stated in Section 2.9 of the RFP that if any conditions or specifications are to be changed, they must be done so by a written addendum to be valid. No verbal changes are valid in this process. With this in mind, the questions and discussions that took place on the retrofit did not produce any written language in a subsequent addendum which would have allowed a purely retrofit design to be proposed. The evaluation committee did not initially deem Puffin Electric unresponsive due to the fact they were not ranked highest in the process, and it was immaterial to the award to find them unresponsive, adding insult to injury when awarding to Sitka Electric. Retrofit nature of Puffin Electric's proposal was noted in the evaluation sheets, and it would have been a much bigger issue that influenced award intentions if Puffin had been the highest scoring proposer, but they were not. Puffin now states that the proposal and Sitka Electric's proposal are essentially the same. This is also false. Sitka Electric proposed a completely revamped lighting system as requested. They proposed new fixtures in the desired configuration and planned to use existing conduit and circuits where possible. New conduit runs would have to be installed to facilitate the new lighting pattern that they proposed. This is what Petersburg Borough asked for in its RFP. On the other hand, Puffin Electric used the same circuits, conduit, mounting system, down rods, and lighting frames in exactly the same configuration that is currently unsuccessful as a lighting system in the pool. Puffin Electric states that the Borough did not intend our specifications in the RFP to be mandatory by the use of the word desired in the RFP. We believe that is false. It is very clear that the Borough intended a specific new lighting plan with the wording in the RFP. The wording used to describe the general specifications of the lighting system intends for the design to be a new lighting system patterned in an E shape and arranged for ease of future maintenance. The Borough came to these specifications after operation of the existing lighting system for many years and knowing what its shortcomings are. The word desired means wanted. Clearly a word intended to direct respondents to the specifications that were printed in the RFP. Third claim that Puffin asserts is that there are technical reasons to award to Puffin Electric. Puffin states the requested E-pattern is not based on a technical evaluation to meet the administrative code, only in maintenance requirements of the Petersburg Borough, and therefore it cannot meet the regulation. In other words, Puffin is saying that the E-shaped configuration is not adequate for meeting the requirements of the regulation. This is their opinion, but no analysis was given to show that the E-shape cannot meet the administrative code provisions. Additionally, no justification or discussion was included in their RFP proposal to defend their strict approach to a retrofit design, in contradiction to the requested specs in the RFP. It is the Borough's responsibility to ensure that lighting meets the administrative code in the pool, and we plan to do so with the contractor prior to final payment and acceptance of a new lighting system. This acceptance of the work is not at issue in the RFP award. Also, our municipal code provides that any protest to the RFP itself has to be made before the due date of proposals. Municipal Code Section 4.04.090B Puffin waited until after all proposals were submitted and after the Borough provided notice that it intended to award the contract to Sitka Electric to assert that the E-shaped configuration called for in the RFP was inadequate. Essentially, they're bringing fault with the RFP and the design request after the fact. They should have brought this up during a previous time. So in conclusion, just like to restate, the staff asserts that Sitka Electric provided a proposal that was responsive and responsible to the intent of the RFP, that Sitka Electric is bound to their proposal and their commitment to perform and to supply the new lighting system that was specified in the RFP. The lack of a signed separate letter of transmittal is not material to the process and should be waived in the best interest of the public. Sitka Electric provided a signed proposal containing the required substance of the letter of transmittal, and Puffin Electric made no showing that any such variance was material, in other words, that Sitka Electric gained any advantage over the other proposers. Puffin Electric should be deemed non-responsive to the RFP based on their purely retrofit design submission that is in conflict with the RFP specs and discussion at the pre-proposal meeting, and was not allowed by any written addenda, written addenda to the RFP. The selection committee respectfully requests that the Assembly uphold the rejection of the protest and allow the award to Sitka Electric, Inc. to proceed forward with negotiations.
Thank you, Mr. Hageman. Is there any questions of Mr. Hageman by Assembly? No. Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Carl. We'll move on to the next part of the appeal process, and that is if the appellant, Puffin Electric Incorporated, wants to, they can give final responsive argument. Mr. Chesley, do you want to testify again? Are you still online?
Yeah, we're here. Yes, we're here. We have the mute button on. Our attorney will assist us with some remarks.
Okay. Just for the record, please state your name and then who you represent, please.
My name is David Freeman. I'm Puffin's attorney here with Holmes & Marcotte. The one thing I wanted to address was the borough's comments that Sitka gained no advantage by submitting their proposal without the letter of transmittal. In fact, Puffin was scored highest on the technical side of the evaluations. And the current view of the borough is that even though that took place, the overall overriding concern here is price. So you've got a situation where where Sitka is being given an advantage because their price is lower than Puffin's, even though they didn't have as good a technical proposal, and even though they failed to comply with the material terms of the RFP. If the RFP didn't require the letter of transmittal, the language used in the RFP would not have been put in bold, underscored type, and thereby requiring the proposers to comply. And if you look at page 3 of the appeal packet, the rules governing competition at section 2.4 on the proposal format, it says that proposals are to be prepared in such a way as to provide a straightforward, concise delineation of the proposer's capabilities to satisfy the requirements of this RFP. Emphasis should be concentrated on 1, conformance to the RFP instructions. 2, responsiveness to the RFP requirements. 3, completeness and clarity of content. Sitka failed to comply with those provisions of the RFP. And so correspondingly, as I indicated, when price is considered to be the determining factor, they've gained an advantage over Puffin and the other proposers, which is obviously materially disadvantageous to Puffin.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Freeman.
I have one comment. This is Bruce with Puffin Electric.
Okay.
I would encourage the assembly members to review the documents in the proposals, specifically the light level calculations that were provided by both proposers. It will be, if you look at those, you'll determine, and if you evaluate those correctly, that one proposer meets the requirements of AS 30-15 or 530, and one does not. I think that's a very important requirement in this deliberation.
Okay.
And this is Lane. I just have a few rebuttal comments. Initially, in Chandra's remarks, I think that she was trying to have the assembly influence the assembly's understanding that Ben Haight, who is our electrical engineer, who consulted with us, was the engineer for the initial design, which in fact he was, but she indicated that it didn't work in the beginning, and we don't know that, and I don't think that that's true. Ben Haight was the electrical engineer on the project, and SPI Lighting was the manufacturer who supplied the lighting to the pool project, and SPI Lighting did most of the lighting calculations for that pool. And remember, this was 10 years ago when LED lighting was also at that time coming out and was fairly new technology. Now, they did not, the existing system is not an LED lighting system. We don't know. We tried to research the plans to figure out what was the original ceiling color supposed to be, because I worked with Chandra and we found the paint bucket to find out what color the paint was, so that when we did our lighting analysis, we could factor in the color and the reflectance of the color to help provide the best calculations for the light reflectance that we could get. And Ben had asked us to do that as well. And I attended the facility the day before the pre-proposal meeting, and I took light level readings on a schedule of measurements all around the facility that Ben Haight provided me, so that we could try to calculate or calibrate the model to most accurately reflect the existing conditions on site there, so that when we came out with our proposed solution, that we would have the highest degree of assurance that we could help the Petersburg Borough meet the lighting requirements in 18 AAC 3530. So we went to extraordinary effort, more than any other bidder, because I don't believe that there was any other bidder who went around the pool and spent the time that I did trying to get the best information possible so that we could provide the best solution possible. So it's an inaccurate statement to say that the initial system failed, because we don't know that, because there's no light level data available to us that says that it did or it didn't. So I just offer that up about the preparatory work that Puffin put in to provide the best proposal to the community that we could. And in fact, I don't think that Sitka Electric even came to the site. They weren't present at the pre-solicitation meeting, and I don't know that they even came to do any research work in preparation of their proposal. Now, it's important to note that that in Sitka's proposal, it was much like the original system that went in there to the pool, that you have lighting manufacturers who have a vested interest in selling lighting, providing lighting calculations to architects and engineers so that they can get their materials spec'd into the project. What Puffin has learned over our many years of doing this, and Ben Haight has learned in many years of doing this, is that we have to take what the lighting manufacturers say, and we have to test that against what we know from real life conditions. So that's why Ben had me come to Petersburg and take light level readings and get the paint colors and take thorough photographs so that we could see all of the darker surfaces that are in there and actually measure their individual reflectance in preparing our proposal. So in the proposal process, in the comments that were just read, it was stated that Puffin didn't provide a technical proposal. Well, there are 2 pages in the back of our proposal which shows the existing conditions that we measured, and then our proposed light level analysis that shows that we will comply with 18 AAC 3530. So, just trying to think if there's any other comments here.
Yeah, just to emphasize this again, I just want to emphasize again that lighting, these lighting solutions and the technical requirements that goes into evaluating whether your light levels will actually produce what that the calculations say is very, very complicated process. The evaluation has to be taken in, the existing conditions have to be taken in consideration. The paint color, like Lane says, the structure has to be taken in consideration. You just cannot lay out a lighting system without that information. You have to have that information to be able to include in your calculations.
And that was Mr. Hess that just added that testimony?
So I would like to wrap up our rebuttal comments here, Mayor Jensen, and just say, there's nothing about this process that feels good when it's sort of all staged as a win-lose process, and of course, your attorney tries to portray us as being as incompetent and incapable as possible, and that's certainly not the track record of our company. And we have come to this process humble and hat in hand, trying to say to you that we've done our best for you in our proposal, and that we do this in all the Alaska communities where we work. We go back to, we're welcome in any of the communities that we work in because we do a great job and we work closely with the owners and we help them meet their needs, and our desire is to help your pool be in compliance with 18 AAC 530 or 30.530. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just for a little clarity here, the last person that testified was Mr. Chesley. Is that right?
Or Hess.
That's correct.
Okay, and the one prior to that was Mr. Hess?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So does that complete your argument?
Yes, it does.
Okay, is there any questions of anybody representing Puffin Electric Incorporated with the Assembly? Is there any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, everybody, for your testimony today, and the Assembly will close presentation of testimony and argument at this time. So I would entertain a motion, if the Assembly wants to go into an executive session to deliberate on the appeal in the performance of its quasi-judicial function.
So move.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made by Member Walhooter, seconded by Member Borough to go into executive session to discuss the appeal hearing arguments on both sides. So we will close the regular meeting at this time and come back into open session after we do our executive session.
Mr. Mayor, this is Dave Freeman.
Hi, Dave.
I understand that when you come back, Ms. Heidemann is going to email me and let me know that we'll be back on the phone.
Okay, we will wait till you're available, Mr. Freeman. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'll make sure that I have the line up again, and we'll wait until you're on the call before we begin.
Okay, I'll look for Sarah's email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take a 5-minute break. Or so.
Thank you.
And I should say, just that we're still being recorded, the only people in executive session will be the assembly and the clerk.
No, but if you go in, just unlock the door. I just sort of lock it is all.
And our attorney
Attorney, yeah, thank you. Yeah. I have some legal questions.
will be online.
I don't do work in the hallway. I wasn't prepared.
And who brought the pizza? I'm hungry.
I believe that should be the losing party. Just get it ordered and we'll just bill them.
So are the mics still on, Deputy?
It looks like it there, because
Thank you.
There you go.
Hello, hello, hello? Does it work? Maybe the box didn't work.
Okay, maybe Sarah, if you just, if you would, please, could you just...
Yeah. How's it going? Well, we got it. Okay.
Testing.
And of course, yeah, it's rotating.
I know. I'm like,
Can you get the auto rotate function, like on the?
I need to just do the screen lock because it's fine on some cameras and then other ones are all messed up. So it's hard to do it when I'm.
Okay, we're back in, are you guys on the line? Are the representatives from Puffin Electric Incorporated on the line again?
Laura said she was going to email them and let them know that there wasn't going to be a decision made today and they may not call back in, but that she would to let us know for sure. So let's wait till we hear a beep. And
Got it.
At least she's on the phone.
Get someone on the line, okay. Just so the people know that are sitting in the audience, we're finishing up on the appeal hearing. So we'll start our regular meeting as soon as we're done with that.
Mr. Mayor, are we going to have to vote on this? Okay, can we take like a 2-minute break right after that before we start the meeting?
Oh, after that? Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Is that what we're using? No, we're not using these anymore today. Whatever that is.
First 5 minutes.
If we want to use mine,
have to speak to anybody.
Are you okay?
Perhaps.
I'm at 86.
On the phone, okay.
Yeah, can I borrow it, please?
I just wanted to
We're made to accommodate these.
Thank you.
You can take it out and use the USB, I think, though.
Is there a USB?
Oh, is there?
It is. Look at that. I didn't stand up and look.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I can go grab
You
mine.
can pull it
That's fine. I've got another one if I need it.
in there.
Totally, yeah. Yeah. That probably doesn't like to fit in there.
I don't know how to.
We're going to probably have more deliberation after we... Yeah. Wow. Specify the meeting date will be the next meeting on the 20th.
20th, it's time to see how
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go grab mine. I should.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have to look at my camera.
Did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
Come on in.
I think I'm going to go find my real quick. Can I borrow your keys? Because I don't want to go behind all the department heads.
That front door should be unlocked.
So should this beep when she calls in?
Yes, I'm going to go grab my cell and text her.
Yeah, so there was a couple other.
We have to finish one meeting before we start the next.
Here it is.
So what's
He's on.
going to happen there?
All three of
And
them.
they were all like,
Did you hear the beep?
Sarah Heidemann.
Is that you, Sarah?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great.
That's it.
You on there, Sarah?
hardware.
I am. I talked briefly with them. They're not going to sign on.
Okay.
I don't
Okay,
think again. I'll just let them know in the morning when it's going to be rescheduled to.
Sounds good. Are you going to go ahead and sign off too then?
Yeah, I can do that as well.
Okay, Sarah, thank you for your help, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Sarah. Okay, we'll call the appeal hearing back to order. It is 6 o'clock p.m. Entertain a motion to take action or no action.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we take no action at this present time and deliberate until the December 20th meeting and then come up with a form of action.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
The motion's been made by Member Walhuter, seconded by Member Morrell to not take any action on this appeal and to deliberate, get more information, and possibly at the next meeting of November 20th, go into another executive session to deliberate and possibly take action at that time. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Mark?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Brandy?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 6-0, and we will discuss this issue more on the November 20th meeting. One of the assembly members asked to take a brief break, so we'll start the regular meeting at before 5 after 6. So I'd offer coffee, but I don't see any in the back of the room. So.